We were planning to talk about the race for the United States Senate in Florida next year, but that's going to have to wait. Now to a political bombshell. We're talking about the major shakeup in the Democratic Party that occurred when State Senator Jeff Clemens from Lake Worth announced his resignation late Friday. It came less than 24 hours after he admitted publicly he'd had an affair with a lobbyist. Clemens was the Democratic leader in the Senate, and in a written statement, he said he's made mistakes that he's ashamed of, and now he's focusing on becoming a better person. He said that's impossible to do while in elected office. Before becoming a state senator, Clemens was mayor of Lake Worth and was a state representative. He'd been a senator since 2012. I'm joined now by News Channel 5 political analyst Brian Crowley, author of CrowleyPoliticalReport.com, who covered Tallahassee politics for many, many years. And Brian, first give us a bit more background on what led to this.
Well, Senator Clemens was having an affair with a lobbyist in Tallahassee. Her name is Devon West. She was a longtime lobbyist for Martin County and ended her lobbying with Martin County just a few months ago and went to work as a Broward County lobbyist. She apparently got apparently they broke up, and Senator Clemens said that his wife had become aware of this about 6 months ago. And
possibly, according to reports, because the lobbyist made her aware, at least according to some reports.
There's some rumors of that. This was all originally reported by Politico, by the way, on Friday. She apparently acquired somehow Senator Clemens' laptop, where he had all of his stuff on laptop, and was somehow used that laptop in a way that that had Senator Clemens concerned. He reached out to Republican Senator Jack Latvala, who's chairman of the Appropriations Committee and currently a candidate for governor, which is interesting, Republican and Democrat, to try to help him retrieve the laptop. And there's a whole episode that goes on behind that, and all of this turns into a big mess on Friday.
For a moment, let's set aside the salacious details and talk about the political ramifications in Tallahassee. Jeff Clemens clearly had been a rising star. He's now the leadership for the Democrats. Talk about the political fallout and impact right now.
Well, you know, he was the Democratic leader. He was in charge of the Senate elections for the Democrats. He was also known for being able to work across party lines. One indication of that was his relationship with Republican candidate, gubernatorial candidate Jack Latvala, who is a powerhouse in the Senate. The two of them were able to work together. Jeff Clemens was considered a rising star in the Democratic Party with a big future ahead of him once he got done with his terms in the Senate. So this is a hard hit for the Democratic Party in Florida, losing Jeff Clemens.
Republicans have a stranglehold on the Florida legislature. The Democrats, as you have often said on this broadcast, struggling to find new stars. So one more reason that it throws that party in disarray when they're having trouble getting any of their policy proposals past a Republican majority. This only throws them into more disarray.
Yes, absolutely. There are very few people in the Democratic Party who are seen as up-and-coming stars, and Jeff Clemens was one of them. And even had he chosen not to advance his own political career in trying to reach higher office in the future, although many thought he would, he was the kind of guy that was able to really help Democrats win elections, and they were really counting on him to help close that gap in the Florida Senate between Republicans and Democrats. Now, instead, the Democrats have lost one seat.
By the way, I reached out to the senator, and he returned my call, left a message only to say, in a very even tone, he said thank you. He referred me to his public relations people, said he'd have nothing more to say. Talk about the future. Here was a rising star. Is this the end of politics for him in today's world and age where so many have been forgiven for sins on the public stage? Your estimation of that? I know it's a crystal ball reading, but your take.
Yeah, it's, you know, I'm very hesitant, especially in this day and age, to declare anybody politically dead forever. He's certainly politically dead in the short term. You know, I think, you know, some years ago, former Republican Congressman Mark Foley left Congress in a scandal. In the last few years, you know, there's been some talk about Mark Foley running for mayor of West Palm Beach, and he has flirted with that idea. I've actually talked to him about it on a number of occasions. And many people some years ago would have said that Mark Foley was permanently dead in politics. You know, can Jeff Clemens come back from this? Potentially, sure. But not in the short term.
Let me ask you, as we look outbound here, again, many people at home will say, what's the impact for me in terms of policy, in terms of pocketbook? Because Republicans have a stranglehold, any at-home pocketbook or policy impact this has for people? Some will argue because Democrats are in a minority, it won't have that kind of impact.
Well, the Democrats are they are in the minority in the legislature, and so the value you get out of somebody who has the talent to be able to work with the Republicans on budget items that might affect the county.
Those policies.
You know, getting help with the Everglades and adding storage south of the lake, hurricane relief, all of those things, money for education. You need people that can work across the aisle, and Jeff proved time and time again that he could do that.
He could moderate certain Republican positions.
And at the same time still be a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. So he wasn't, you know, he knew how to work the Senate.
And moderate some of the Republican policy proposals.
So replacing him is not going to be easy.
Which was going to be my next question. So as you begin to look at what will now be the race, the fight, the struggle to replace that position, who do you think about some early names?
Well, anytime there'll be a special election. I haven't called the date on it yet, but you know, already we're hearing Irv Schlossberg, who was in the State House for many years. He's already said that he from the Boca area. He's already said that he's going to run for the seat in a special election. And I suspect over the weekend we had a lot of people look in the mirror and think they too could be a state senator. So whenever there's an open seat, it tends to attract a lot of names.
We live in a world now, the optics of these kind of stories and the reaction from people about this kind of story, is it only one more thing that heightens the cynicism, or do we now live in a world where people in many ways shrug it off and say, if it doesn't directly impact me, I just move on? What's your take as somebody who was a veteran covering Tallahassee?
You know, I think a little bit of both. You know, as significant as a state senator can be to your district in helping to achieve things for your area, I think that we've become immune almost to these kinds of scandals, and you know, I think that's just where we are today.
We'll see what the continuing political fallout is, and we'll be back with your closing thoughts in just a moment.